Assalamualaikum and good morning. Today I'm going to show to you how you can actually draw um, your class diagram and sequence diagram together with your communication diagram. So, assuming that you already have drawn your use case diagram, okay, maybe I can show to you. Um, let's start with your use case diagram first. Okay. Normally, before you draw all these diagrams, you normally sketch it on a piece of paper. Okay, so that is easier for you. You can simply convert it to to your model here, so it will be faster. So, I'm using the example that you've been referring to in the UUM online. Uh, let's say this is your one of the actors. Okay, drawing this. Then you have this boundary kind of box. For example, it's a club information system. Okay, it depends on what you want to give names. And then we have another actor here. Here I put so basically these are the actors for your system. And then say you have authentication. So when you draw this, you should based on what you have specified in the PBL1. Then, for example, we have manage user, maybe ours is different. Let's redraw this, okay? And then you have manage RAM. Just to remind you, when you draw your use case diagram, often begin this use case with a verb. Okay, don't simply put user program like that. It should start with a verb. Okay. That's good. Okay. I have questions from some of you. Whether to use association or direct association. Um, if you use direct association, meaning that the communication is only one way. Okay, meaning that um, for example, team member only authenticate, but maybe he or she does not receive any feedback from the authentication function. But I think that's not right? So to be safer, better use association, the normal arrow, the normal line without any arrow, because it's showing two ways kind of communication, meaning that team members, team management entered something to the system, and the system is showing back something to the team manager. So the communication is two ways, right? So you don't have to label the communication, the association. Simply have a simple line like this. Okay, I'm drawing it fast so that I can show other things. Okay. Assuming that this is your okay, now moving on to draw your class diagram. So what you can do is you move up, go here, add class diagram. So you have to draw class diagram for each of these use cases. Authentication users. Authenticate user. Let's say I'm drawing the class diagram for authenticate user. So what I do here, draw class diagram, and here I can actually rename it so that it's easier for you. For example, authenticate user. I can right click here and rename it authenticate user. Add class diagram. Now, I've mentioned to you that if you are drawing a use class diagram, especially if you are designing it for a web based system, what you need to do is first you need to have a boundary class. Okay, boundary class will be actually your page or your form. For example, this is authenticate user, so I have this as login page. start with a capital letter, no gaps in between the word. Okay, login page, for example, like that. And then when you draw your class diagram, not only that you have the login page, we should also have a control page, control login. And then another class that you can have is an entity class. For in this example, my entity class name is user. Okay, user entity basically will do all the database operation kind of activity. Okay, if you are drawing a class diagram for a use case, basically this is the three main classes that you should have. On top of that, you can add more. For example, if it's a very complicated kind of operation, maybe there are many pages, so you can add more boundary class here. Okay, and controller, sometimes you can have more than one. You can have two, or the same goes to entity. It can be more than one. All right. So I want to add stereotype, the word on top that I have shown earlier. So what you can do is you go here, stereotype. Okay, you can add, this is entity. Okay, entity. So it will appear there. The same goes here. I want to show that this is a control. So other than giving a name like this, control or something like that, you can actually add a stereotype. This is called stereotype. And the other one is my entity, so I put it as entity here. Okay, so it will appear on top. Okay, so let's say you don't give a name to the class with the keyword of a name like control or something like that. So this stereotype will be helpful for the reader to understand. Okay, right. Now that you have the classes, you can, if this out of these three classes, the one that you need to add attribute, it is compulsory to add the attribute, is the entity. Okay, so maybe you can add, for example, attribute is username, username. Okay, you can simply click here, and then password. You can add up as you go along, but for all these three classes, the compulsory one that you need to add entities are in the entity, sorry, the one that you need to add attributes are in the entity classes, but the rest you don't have, is not compulsory. But if you can add, or you have idea what kind of attributes that might be needed there, you can add, right? Okay, now we want to add also the attributes. Okay, to help you to get some ideas on what to add in the to add up the operation. Okay, what you need to do first is to refer to your use case specification, right? When you have written your use case specification, basically there are steps to be followed, and I keep on emphasizing to you in the Google document that you have prepared. uh, you need to list down what are the data involved and so on and so forth, right? So the need for doing that is that it gives you idea what kind of data that you need to supply in the entity classes. Okay, so if you have written that in your use case specification, you will have some idea what to write in the entity classes. Now that you have the main structure like this and you don't know what might be the possible operation here, the next thing to do is to do the sequence diagram. Okay, sequence diagram. So this is half ready. So what you can do is you do right click, add sequence diagram. Okay, so you do sequence diagram for authenticate user. So to help make this diagram more meaningful, you do like this. So you name it according to the use case. Okay? right? So authenticate user sequence diagram. Okay, and then you say okay. Right. Now that you have it here, so you can make use of the. Okay, remember that you have drawn your use case diagram before, right? So you have the actor here, so you can drag it here. Mm. In this case, when you authenticate user, it's not only management team, right? You'll be also having the other one, which is the exco leader. So you can put it here. Okay, so it's a bit messy here. So I want to remove the word lifeline one there. So what I can do is I can go here to the right hand side and remove this. Right? So remove. Um, Same goes to Exco. When you remove it, it will be deleted. Only the object name is there. Only the actor name is there. Right. Then I want to. Okay, what should I do after this? I need to add all the objects, all the class diagram that I have specified in my class diagram for authenticate user. So I have this. I want to put all this into my sequence diagram. So what I do is I go to this class diagram that I have created just now. So I just drag it here. So I have an login page first, and then I have my okay, I have my controller page, and I have entity. Okay, so I have all these three things here. So I want to remove again. I want to remove the word line there. So I just need to go to the property section and remove it. Okay, so that's easier to. Okay, so okay, so that now I have all my classes. Now, class diagram, it is classes, but when you use it in the sequence diagram, it becomes objects. Okay, so your next step is to actually add the messages. Okay, so in order to draw this, what you need to do first is you need to refer to your use case diagram. Sorry, you need to refer to your use case specification that you have written specifically for this authenticate user. Maybe it will be slightly different from one group to another. And then the next thing to do is to sketch it first on a piece of paper. Okay, that will be easier because to draw it here without having a draft will be slightly harder. So what you need to do is maybe you sketch it on a piece of paper and make sure whatever that you sketch actually matches with what you have written in your use case specification, because I'll be checking it, okay, from time to time to make sure what you have proposed in the use case specification is actually matching to the drawing of your sequence diagram. Okay, let's say I want to show that the user, the actor is actually trying to log in. Okay, so I choose message and then I put here. Okay, so now what I do is I press this because now I don't have any method yet in my class diagram, so I need to edit here. So I click this one, create operation. What I do, for example, I say insert the name as okay, only the name. Okay, okay, right. So it will be there. And if I can bring you to my class diagram, it's actually there. Okay, it is automatically added for you. which is very useful to avoid any typo error, any typing error. And then I keep on adding my messages. Okay, in this example, I don't show off just to make this slightly shorter. So what I do, let's say I do validate the user, okay, and the message should go like that, okay, from actor to boundary, boundary to controller, controller to user. It should not go like this. For example, you have a message from a boundary straight away to the entity. Okay, for example, I do this. I have a message and you can write this longer. Let's say I do something like this. I want to have a message from a boundary straight to the okay, maybe I'll show it to you later. Let me just finish this. The system does not allow me to straight away jump like that. So I create a message, right? So okay, so I want to add something like this. So what I do is, for example, I have to put get user, meaning that I want to get data from my database. Okay? So as you can see that if I have an arrow going into one object, that message will actually be an operation for that object. Let's say I put the sequencing is not, the numbering is not. Easier to control. This is my message. Okay, so it's easy to control like that. Sometimes it's not following the ordering that I want. So you can actually set it manually. So I say 3 here. So we can click. What was I saying? Okay. Right. Okay. I just want to show to you just now. Let's say you have a message from boundary straight away going to the entity. Let's say you want to do something like that. The system does not stop you, um, but that kind of drawing is actually not allowed because in object oriented, the kind of message that should be passed need to be following this order, like the one that I mentioned to you. From boundary, it should go to controller, controller going to the user. From boundary going to controller, controller going to the entity, and the other way around. For example, from user, if you want to response back, it should do stage by stages. Okay, should not be jumping from one to another. So the way that you place the object should normally follow that kind of ordering, so that the arrow um, can be controlled, so that it does not go from one side to another side, and it will be harder for you to actually follow. Okay, you can actually have something like this, which is called a reply message, but having a reply message is actually and is optional. Okay, you if you, for example, have something going to another object, it is actually understood that the message will be passed back. But if you want to represent it, you should be using the dotted arrow. Okay, for example, you want to show the response back or response messages. So, for example, you do like that, and then you add it For example, retrieve user, right? Then once you retrieve the user, because this is a controller, I mentioned to you before, controller's job is to actually to control or to validate or to coordinate something. So you can do the uh, among the allowed kind of operation here is to, for example, to do validation. Okay, that image there, so you can put it slightly down. Okay, right, like that. So you need to give numbering because just now I have set it manually. So this is 4. So this is 5. Right. Okay. So you can see that. All right. So again, I like to emphasize that when you draw this, make sure that you refer to your use case specification and then you have sketch it on a piece of paper so that it will be easier for you. Okay, for example, you have a verify login and let's say the login is successful. So you want to show a message to the user. Okay, so you want to say login success. Okay, and this is number 6. Okay, maybe in your use case specification, during the verification login, maybe there will be a situation where the login is not successful. And then you want to put a note there. Okay, check. Let's say you want to put here, I want to put a note. Okay, so kind of comment. I want to put, okay, maybe here it will be, it will trigger your alternative flow, forgot password. Okay, and then you have to go to the next line, you press shift enter, and it will go to A3, for example, you have change password. Okay, and you can put a link to show that it's related to this message here, right? And then done with the successful login. Then you want to show other alternative flow. So how you can do that is you can add another message here. We choose option. You want to log out straight away or you want to change password because you don't remember the password, right? So correct that later on. And here at this point of time, there are many options that you can perform. Maybe you want to put what are the alternative that you have. Example, maybe you can either log out straight away, or you can E3, you want to change password here also. You forgot your password and want to get a new password. So you can do that. Okay. That's how you go about. So whatever that you put here, all the notes, it depends on your use case specification. Okay, I'm showing you one of the example. Right. Okay, the next one that I want to show to you is to show you to you how to do the draw the alternative flow. Okay, before that I just want to show our class diagram so far. Okay, just now I wrongly typed, right? So I want to fix it here. So I do whatever that you type in the use case, the sequence diagram will appear in the class diagram. Okay, so it will be easy for you. Right. Right. Now I want to show to you how you can represent or draw your um, alternative flow. For example, I want to draw for A1 first, logout. So what I need to do is I go down here, something called combined fragment. Okay, this one. This is called combined fragment. Okay, click this. Okay, what you need to do is you put it to the side. Just close this a bit. Can be good. So that it can be right. So you can actually pull this left line down because you want to continue. The symbols here, pull it down. Because doing this is quite tedious, so make sure that you actually sketch it first and check it on the piece of paper first before drawing it. Right, I won't show all, but I'll show to you some. Okay, let's say okay, you can label this properly. So you go to the side and you say this is logout and it's A1 dash. Okay, and then here you have you continue with the message that you want to log out, right? So you put a message that you want to log out. And here you put, for example, press log out. You want to log out, you don't want to proceed, and then okay, maybe you can put okay, close, right? That is the first one, and so on. Okay, let's say you want to draw. Say you want to draw for A3, so you go and add the combined fragment again. And you add for A2. Okay, you have the second one, which is your A2 forgot password. So you do password. Right? So and then you keep on adding. Okay, I won't show all because it will be creating a very long video for you. So now that you have this, okay, as you can see here, the kind of movement, the message is from boundary to controller, controller to the entity, right? So the same goes when you draw your relationship between classes. It will be like that also. Okay, it can be association like that. So you can have communication, a relationship like that. Okay, that's a kind of relationship that you have between your classes. And the last one that I want to show to you is the other diagram that is needed from you is you need to add a communication diagram. Okay, communication diagram. So communication diagram is actually looks like this. It's just that it sequence diagram is showing the ordering from top to bottom. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put this. This is number 7. This is okay. So sequence diagram is actually showing the communication between the objects, and it is actually showing the ordering from top to bottom. So the top one is actually done first and followed by the rest. The other one is actually communication diagram. Communication diagram is showing also the messages between the objects, but it's not showing in the ordering kind of manner. is actually showing the kind of messages being passed between the classes, the objects. How I can draw this is I can drag it from my, let me just rename it properly first so that you can just rename first. So I want to show to you this is user communication diagram, and just drag it here. And the other one? Another one here, which is, oh yeah, this one. Okay, so this is, and I want to remove the word lifetime, so I just remove it here. So this goes here, just right. Okay, and I also have to put my actor here. I want to use my actor for this. Okay, this is, for example, in this case, I just want to put the member. Okay, but in my drawing just now, I have team ex-colleader also, right? So I should actually put it here. So let me just modify my name first. I do. Okay, so in my example here, I just want to show one user, but in your case, if you have more than one, you should put more. Right, so I want to show the message passing from one object to another. And I mentioned to you, this is actually representing the almost the same information as the sequence diagram. So what I need to do is I choose forward message, like this, drag it, and I can actually use whatever that I have just now. I think just now I start with insert username and password, right? Let me set this. This is I want the numbering to be manual, so that is easier for me to control it. Okay, so I have this message. I want to put a single number. Okay, and then from here, I choose another form message. I'm mistaken just now. I put validate user. Okay, right. And then from here to here, it's actually from here to here. It is get result. Alright, so what you should draw is whatever message that appear in the sequence diagram should appear also here. So make sure that this diagram is also consistent with the diagram in the sequence diagram in terms of numbering and so on, and in terms of the object. Okay, do finish it. Do make sure that whatever that you draw here is the same with whatever that you draw in the sequence diagram. So if you have three use cases like that, you should also have um, three class diagram, three sequence diagram, and also three communication diagrams. This video is beneficial for you in helping you to draw your own diagram, right? So I'm showing you only the partial part of this diagram, and in your case, you need to complete it according to what you have designed in your use case specification in your PBL2, PBL1.